Welcome to Edithville, our turn-of-the-century miners' cottage in Bendigo, Victoria. Join myself, Dan, and my partner Branden as we transform our little house into a home. Renovating, decorating, gardening, and creating. Building our life in rural Australia. Not to forget our miniature poodle, Sprocket. Come along with us as we document the changes and experience the journey in our beautiful home, Edithville. So we have our dirt that has been delivered, which we now need to shovel and put into our garden bed because it is due to rain tonight. I've been creating some window displays for Simon's shop. So I've made a book and I'm making pens at the moment, or finishing those off. But also I'm doing a bit of painting as well. So I'm starting to paint a foundation layer. This will have multiple layers on it, so it gets nice and dark and moody and a little bit more, interesting and softer blending as I go along. I had started painting something underneath, as you can see down the bottom there, but I wasn't happy with it. So I have painted over the top of that, and also the studio is a bit of a mess because it always is. I have the toolkits finally all together, and so I have these which are going up online. I just need to take a photo of some materials that people get as a bonus, and then we're ready to rock and roll with that and get those up and hopefully make some sales that way. I then just need to weigh it and see how much it's actually going to cost people to get it shipped. But so far, so good. We are getting things rolling, which is the main thing. There's only 4 kits available, so once they're gone, because I don't know when I'll be able to get more material, because the suppliers don't know when they can get more tools and stuff like that. But I am going through all my tools at the moment as well, so I'm going to have a second-hand tool sale, which is mainly going to be hand tools and soldering equipment, and I might do those up as little packs or just individual things, and people can buy second-hand tools as well, and just start eliminating the amount of stuff that I have that I don't necessarily need thousands of pieces of anymore, because I don't run a massive studio anymore. So watch this space, there will be more. What do we got? Wait. Go! That's more the enthusiasm that we normally get. What are we making today, baby?
I'm making banana cake.
Yummy banana cake! We just woke it up. It's
And then pumpkin soup for lunch.
We're going to do a pumpkin soup for lunch because we have a pumpkin that we've had for a while. So I need to use that. So yes, a little bit of cooking this morning. Might be able to show you a few things as we wake up slowly.
I just beat 2 eggs, and then I've added 2 tablespoons vanilla. That's it for now.
What else goes in it?
So, I'm gonna do a cup of brown sugar, and then and then my bananas, and then a cup of flour, and then I'll add some cinnamon. Actually, I'll use it now.
Yeah, we got heaps of cinnamon.
And nutmeg. I like cinnamon and nutmeg. few pinch of salt. A little salt. That's about right. I'm not I'm not a measurer. I never have been. This is what makes me a terrible baker in a lot of aspects, because that's not right. Because I don't measure, and I never have, and so as long as I know the basics, I think baking you can sort of play with a little bit, but you've got to get your proportions right when it comes to flour and all of that stuff. So as long as I know,
but the flavoring's
the same. So I've got 2 eggs in there, and I'm just mixing up all of the stuff that needs to be blended. So brown sugar, eggs, I'll add banana, and then at the end I will add the flour to combine it all, and then pour it into the pan. So I need little bits that fall in. Go to the banana gods.
Cup?
Yeah, it's a cup.
Yep.
Normally.
Yep.
Think.
You've made it numerous times.
I made it numerous times, and I probably should have it committed to memory now, but
or written in
stone somewhere. But I have been playing with it a little bit, only because I was playing with like the moisture and how much that sort of did. And the other thing too is you add a little butter to this, and I'm just gonna. Can I use that, or can I use your baking butter? Okay. So normally I would do like a 1/4 cup, but
you're winging it.
I'm winging it because Dan shouldn't really have a lot of butter.
Round sticky mess.
Yes. But by doing it this way, you get everything mixed in together, which it's probably a bit easier.
Do you need to preheat the oven?
It is. I cheat. I use the microwave.
That's how everybody does it, I think.
No, you can melt on the stove.
Why would you when you've got a microwave?
True. All right, so you can sort of see it getting a bit thicker, more of a bread-like consistency. All right. Now, normally I would grease the pan, so I would put butter into the pan, but we're going to try to alleviate that too, so I'm just going to put baking paper in. What are you doing?
I'm tracing out the base of the container, and I'm going to do the lining of the baking tin with the baking paper.
So we're going to use self-raising flour. There's some bananas. You can hear some perfectly ripe bananas. I have been telling Dan he can't eat them all week because I had plans to make banana bread on Saturday. Anyway.
Which anybody who knows me knows that I really love bananas.
Going to use some natural walnuts as well. And I like to mash them in the bag, so make it a bit easier.
Not enough?
Well, I think it's because I put the roast veg in, like it's not...
it's absorbing that. Yeah, right.
I'm going to take the veg out.
One at a time. I suppose it doesn't really matter if it goes crispy on the outside. A little bit of bad weather today, but what we're going to work on, or what we've been working on, is these. So this particular one, a nice big one, is going on top of the garden bed that we've already made and filled with soil, so we can get all the tomatoes in this area. And then this small one is going to go underneath where the clothesline is currently, which we are going to change. So I'm going to use the existing clothesline and build one like I have underneath the garage, which you can see over there. So I'm going to use this in the same kind of format and hang this up underneath the garage so we can have our clothes dry under there. We're going to keep these posts here, and I'm just going to straighten them. Bit of water around here. So we're going to straighten these, and we're going to do big circular garden beds here and at the other one, and then the square one is going to go in the middle here, so we'll have open paths and things happening. But yeah, at the moment it's probably this weekend's project actually to get the clothesline out of the way, so then it's moved from here. And our plan is hopefully on the top of these to build some bird feeders or something like that, so that we can use them. The reason why we're doing a big circular garden bed here is so that we can then kind of have lines like this on them and grow beans and things up them, so they'll actually have a dual purpose, so things can grow up. And we may even do some string lines in between, but we'll wait and see. We've had a lot of rain, so this is why it's quite wet around here, and I'm wearing my fashionable gum boots because all of this comes from up through here. So yeah, just a little bit of work to do in the garden, even though the weather is quite dodgy today. It's supposed to be better tomorrow.
Okay, so we couldn't help ourselves and we started to eat already. But that is my banana cake with pineapple topping, and then I'm just going to do a little icing sugar.
Because there's not enough sugar.
Because there's not enough sugar, and it makes it pretty. And then, what I did on the last half.
Oh yeah.
I've got this little wild blueberry syrup. It's actually not thick like a syrup. It's more like a, I don't know, it's lighter than a syrup. It's not a syrup, definitely not. But I'm going to drizzle this on and let it soak in.
Yum. Super yummy.
There we are.
Ta-ta-ta.
Banana cake with fresh pineapple, walnuts, and blueberry syrup.
So if you want the recipe, leave us a comment.
Yeah, and I'll try to remember what I did, because as you can see, I made it all up as I went. So
I actually think we might write this one down in our cookbook.
yeah, good idea.
And then we have some roast pumpkin, which we're going to do a little pumpkin soup with, but also I'm going to make some homemade ravioli for dinner, I think.
Yep.
So yes, stay tuned. There'll be more baking and cooking and stuff, and that recipe we can put up as well. But just leave us a comment and we'll let you know. You can see we have the garden beds in place. So this is going to be the next level, and we'll need to fill that with dirt. And then the smaller one is over there. And as I explained earlier, we're going to do round ones over there and down there.
Hello. So for dinner, because on a weekend I can only think about food, we're going to do a beef brisket with some tomato and mushroom. Done a bit of a puree there, and then we'll add some red wine. And then Dan is going to make a ravioli. So this will hopefully, after a lot of slow cooking, will come apart, and then we'll stir it through with the ravioli, and it'll just be like this, hopefully, a yummy, meaty, ragu-y ravioli.
Made up the filling for the pumpkin ravioli, which is a roast pumpkin and some sage and thyme and Parmesan cheese, a little bit of salt and pepper. So now that's ready to just sit there while I make the pasta. So normally what I do is I make just a small batch, which is a 200 gram batch of pasta. So it's 200 grams of flour, a pinch of salt, 2 whole eggs and then 1 egg yolk. But I'm going to make a double batch because we have so much filling here that we can freeze it, but I can also, you know, give it away, which is normally what I end up doing. So I'm going to use 6 eggs and 400 grams of flour, 2 pinches of salt, and then I also add a little bit of water to it to really kind of get it to combine, because you'll find that it gets really kind of too dry for my liking at least. So double batch, so I want 400 grams. You'll find that in a lot of recipes they ask you to either use the bench and make a well and blah blah blah, but I just do it all in the bowl because it maintains you know, the space that you're working in, so it makes it much tidier, I suppose. So I want to put in my salt. Yeah, double batch, so I need 4 eggs. So I still made a little bit of a well here, which is where I'm putting all of these eggs. Now I want 2 egg yolks, which will give you the nice yellowy, buttery look. So now that they are in there, I'm going to whisk them in place. So break them up a bit. And then do a whisk. And as you whisk it, you're actually incorporating a little bit of that flour, and then you purposefully bring in the flour. So this is what I'm talking about. See how it's dry, and then you give it a little bit of a knead, but you still have all of this stuff here left over. So this is where I add a little bit of water and get it a little bit more moist. You don't want to over knead it, so if you keep on kneading it at this point in time, you're going to end up with a rubber ball. So I just randomly throw in some water, and then this can get quite sticky, but I'm just rolling it around until I'm starting to pick up all of that extra flour. If you get it too wet, you can always add some flour to the mix. What will happen is the dough will actually start to sweat a little bit from the salt, and you actually cover this for a little bit. So I'm just going to remove as much of the dough from my hands as possible. Give it a gentle knead. I'm probably not going to knead it any further than that at this point in time. It's still nice and soft. I don't want to make it really hard, so it's going to stay like that. The bowl stays like that. Put that back into the bowl, and then I'm going to cover that for about an hour or so. So you may be able to see that there are parts where it is kind of like sweating, and that's where the salt is. As I said earlier, you don't necessarily want to have too much of a knead, because then you don't want it to go hard and rubbery, because it's going to make a really horrible pasta. So I'm going to do this in smaller batches. Now I have this board that I use, and I don't use a pasta machine anymore. I actually use a rolling pin, but this pin was made by a friend of ours, Tom Rundle, and it's actually perfect because it's the same width as the board, so I can roll the pasta out quite easily. Just means that I'm working in a different, like, you know, in a smaller batch, multiple batches. Always make sure you've got enough flour of everything, you know, over flour to a certain extent. And then I'm just going to start rolling this out. Okay, so as you can see, I have my piles of dough ready to go. They're all cut out, and I've started filling a few of them using a little teaspoon. Pop that in there. I've got a little bit of water which I paint onto the edges just using my finger. Doesn't matter if some gets, you know, a little bit further than the edge, you know, You're going to be boiling it anyway, so it doesn't matter. And fold it over. If you get a little bit that squeezes out, you just want to make sure that you're squeezing it nice and tight on that join to try and prevent it from opening up. You just want to give it a really good pinch. That's going to stop that from opening up. They probably look a little bit more like a gyoza, but that's okay. So another variation of the same type of thing is once you've cut all these discs out, I've placed the mixture in there. I've got a little bit of water around the edge, and then all I'm doing is moving the top one around, pressing that in, so I've wet that edge, and making a wider, flatter ravioli. So we have the most amazing sauce out of this brisket, isn't it?
Well, I'm actually really happy with it, but
yeah.
But it's not enough, like, it's not a lot, like, it's just going to be enough to coat the ravioli.
Yes.
And I think you're going to taste the pumpkin.
Yep.
And the meat.
Yep.
And it's just going to give it just enough.